Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing an Ask Me Anything. So a couple days ago I posted on the community section of my YouTube channel asking for y'all to ask me a bunch of questions that I could answer in this video, and y'all did not disappoint. We got a lot of really good questions, and I'm just really excited to get into it. As a small aside, I really like Ask Me Anythings and like spicy truth or drinks and all of those type of YouTube videos. Full admission, I don't watch a lot of YouTube myself. I know it's weird. I make YouTube. I should probably watch more of it, but I just don't. But my partner watches a ton of YouTube. He used to do YouTube back in the day. He's really big into it. Karl told me that Ask Me Anythings were kind of outdated and that I shouldn't do it and it would be a little boring, but I really like them. So we're gonna see how this goes, and let me know in the comments down below. Solve this debate for us. Do you like this? Do you want me to make this a reoccurring series? Should I do this every couple of months to answer y'all's questions, or do we agree with Karl? Are these boring and am I out of touch? Let me know. Okay, jumping in immediately, we have this one from Miss Deadly Dawn asking me about my cheek piercings, aka dimple piercings. I've been debating dimple piercings for 3 years now, and I've read everything about them, the tedious healing process, the inevitable flare-ups after healing, but my question is, do they affect any aspect of your life even after they've healed? A lot of folks online say that they regret getting them 5 years, 7 years down the line, and they feel like they'd be able to take care of them with flare-ups and downsizes, but they still feel like they're missing something. So here's my take on it as a professional piercer, but also as someone who has cheek piercings and really love them. I would not say that I regret my cheek piercings in any way. I really love my cheek piercings. They really make me feel like me. I love how they look on my face. They're one of the piercings that I really couldn't ever imagine myself without. That being said, they are like a huge pain in the ass. People are not exaggerating about that. I was just down the shore a weekend or two ago, and I was having fun with my friends, hanging out at the beach, doing stuff as usual. And you know, I know better, but I wasn't being super careful with my sunscreen application and reapplication, and I definitely wasn't being super careful on the beach. And between sunscreen getting in my cheek piercings, the time out in the sun, and the sand, this cheek piercing got super irritated. It was overswelling to the point that I woke up in the middle of the night in pain from it and had to take some ibuprofen and do some cool compresses and just kind of monitor the swelling as best I could until I got home. And basically the second I got out of the car from the beach, despite being very tired, despite being hungry, despite all of that stuff, the very first thing I did was put longer jewelry in this and baby it, and it was super pissed off at me for a couple of days until I got it to calm down. And this is something that happens to me, like, I would say about once a year, and it always seems to be in the most inconvenient times when I'm away from home and don't have easy access to my longer jewelry, or whenever it can be like the most inconveniencing thing possible. And I'm very fortunate in that I am a professional body piercer, so I have the knowledge and the skills to be able to swap my jewelry myself at home. I have more access to tools and supplies that clients do. For a lot of clients, if this happens, they just gotta go in and see their piercer and get help. And if you're traveling or you're away from home or whatever the case may be, that can be really hard. And I definitely, you know, I try and warn my clients about this and the difficulty that cheek piercings can have. And some people really get it and they sign up for it and they're cool with that and they understand. And others, I feel like, don't get it as much. And to be completely honest, it's one thing to verbally like warn someone about cheeks doing this and all that. And it's a completely different thing to be living your life with them. And like, I've had my cheek piercings for over 10 years at this point. And it's another thing for every year or every couple of months for your cheeks to flare up and have big bumps on them, or be painful, be swollen, be irritated, and be something that impacts your day-to-day life. And I totally understand people who get tired of dealing with that, because at some point, and you know, it's always the worst time, they never flare up when you have like a week off work and it's not a big deal. They always flare up before like a freaking wedding or a special event or when you're away from home. And it sucks. It sucks to be walking around with this piercing that is causing you pain, that is causing you discomfort, that is obviously irritated and doesn't look good. Maybe it has a bump on it, maybe it's really swollen, whatever the case may be, it looks bad. You're in pain and discomfort, and then wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you have to take time to try and baby the piercing and mitigate symptoms. You possibly have to take an emergency trip in to see your piercer on a moment's notice and spend money you weren't planning on. Annoying. It's annoying. So I certainly don't regret it, but I also knew what I was getting into when I signed up for them, and there are definitely moments when they flare up and I'm so frustrated that part of my brain is like, oh, why would I do this? Why do I have to love such a stupid, annoying piercing? But I do. And I keep them and I deal with them and I understand what I signed up for it. And if you've done your reading and research, you know that seeing a good piercer, good jewelry, these are lots of ways to minimize these things, but cheeks are cheeks. They can be a pain in the ass. And if you're getting them, you really got to be prepared for what it's going to be like, not just to get and heal them, but to live with them for the rest of the time you choose to have them. And if you decide you don't want to deal with them, there's no shame in that. They do kind of suck for a lot of people. And some people, after a couple of years, they just no longer want to deal with those problems, and that's literally so valid. This person asked, how's the booger situation with the stacked septum? I love how they look, but with my regular septum, I'm occasionally humbled by a rogue booger. Does a stack make it worse? Yes. Yes. It does. Septum stacks get super boogery, especially if you're sick or you have allergies or things like that. Boogers love to get caught up on and around and in between them. And the best thing that you can really do is just kind of work with them and manage them. For me, I'm a very sinusy person. I have really nasty seasonal allergies. I'm always taking sinus medicine. Basically, every morning I wake up and I blow my nose and I clear my sinuses really well. And then if my septum stack is really gross, I either hop in the shower and let the water run over it, or I cup some warm water in my hand and soak my stack. I really like using a water pick to keep it clean. So in the mornings, I'll just kind of like plug my nose and water pick my stack real quick to get the boogers off. And then when I'm doing my makeup or my skincare, if I have any little bits that I missed, I'll take a toothpick and kind of go over it. But stacks are really boogery. It's in your nose. It's part of being in your nose. It's something that you just accept and deal with to have a cool looking septum piercing. Aaron wants to know, what are piercings you offer, but only after very careful consultation with a trusted client? And I feel like the general answer is going to be anything that's more advanced to heal. Cheeks, high nostrils, snugs, custom industrials, really complicated genital work. All of these are services that I'm only going to do after a consultation with a client that I know can handle these things. Now, I think that's the answer kind of every piercer gives. I want to be a little bit more honest and a little bit more transparent here, in that if I have a client who I really, really trust and I've worked on for a very long time, and I know that everyone involved really understands what we're doing, and it's not something that's like completely the most horrible idea in the world, I will probably do it with enough discussion and conversation. And a really great example of this is like weird placement surface anchors. I have spoken a lot on my blog and online about how dangerous certain placements for surface anchors can be, and also how they can just fail. Now, you're not going to be able to talk me into doing an anchor on your foot or your finger, basically, no matter who you are. But I have a few clients. I have one in particular who I know very well. I've known her for an incredibly long time. She's been getting pierced longer than I've been alive. Her son worked as a body piercer for a very long time, and she understands more than plenty of piercers out there what she's signing up for with some of this stuff. And so when she spoke with me about doing some surface anchors on her arm to go with a tattoo, she knew that they were a bad idea. She was like, listen, I know I'll probably only get a couple months out of them. I just think they'll be really pretty and fun. I'm retired, like, what the fuck else am I gonna do? I just want to have fun with it. And I know this client so well, and I know she actually understands what she's signing up for and what she's getting into. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that she won't care about the scarring that it could cause, and about the ways it could affect her tattoo. And I know her well enough to know that she understands risks of things like infection and issues with placement like that. So I was willing to do that for her. Most other people, it's absolutely not. And if you're like, oh, Lynn, that's hypocritical, that's a double standard. Well, there's a couple things to consider here. One, I know that this person understands this way more than most. Way more than most. And two, I know and trust that this person, beyond a shadow of a doubt, understands the risks that they're taking, and they are not going to turn around and try and sue me or come for me for doing something that we both know is an unsafe and a bad idea. Now, there are some limits to that. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much I like you. I'm not going to do snake eyes for you. I'm not going to do a smiley for you. I'm not going to do super unsafe stuff. But if I know you really well, and especially for people who are in the industry, especially for other piercers who understand the risks of a lot of these things. I'm honestly pretty chill and much more apt to say yes to those things as long as that risk is inherently understood. Surface anchors are such a great example. I have done some of the absolute stupidest surface anchor placements that I would literally never do for a client, for people in the industry, because they know what they're getting into, and I trust that they're not gonna come back on me. And at the end of the day, I am a big believer in informed consent. I say that all the time here on my channel. So if those people who I know truly have the information to give that informed consent want me to do that stuff, yeah, you know, I'll do it. The key thing there is informed consent, and the average client just doesn't like truly understand the gravity of some of those things that they're asking for me to feel comfortable doing that. And then there are some clients who walk a fine line where if I know them really well, I'm willing to push the envelope. And not to talk too much about this one, but I think a key thing there is that when I do this type of work, I don't post it on the internet because I don't think that it's work that we should be encouraging clients to get and other people to do. And I know quite a few other piercers and professionals who are of the same mindset as me, that for certain really well-trusted clients or certain people within the industry, they're willing to kind of bend the rules a little bit and try more experimental stuff. But I don't post that shit on the internet because I don't think we should be encouraging people to do these bad ideas or do unsafe stuff. And that is probably my biggest beef with piercers who share the same mentality, is that they'll post this stuff on the internet and be like, look at this cool weird thing I did. And I'm always like, oh, we don't, but it's a bad idea. And you know it's a bad idea, and I know it's a bad idea, and everyone knows it's a bad idea, and we don't want to be encouraging clients to do this. Great example of this, there was a piercer who recently got their high nostrils pierced and started it with a chain, and they said, not in their video posting about this, but in their comments, hey, this is a bad idea, I'm only doing this because I'm a piercer. But nevertheless, I had 3 separate people message me about upcoming high nostril appointments they have with me saying, oh, could I start it with a chain? I saw so-and-so do it. And I had to explain why it was really unsafe and a really bad idea on those piercings. And they were like, but then why would this person do it? They're like a good piercer. And it's like, ugh, if you're gonna do that stuff behind closed doors and push those boundaries, again, I love informed consent. I don't think we should post that stuff on the internet and encourage other people to do it though. Michael, always here with some good questions. The spiciest initial piercings I've had. Far and away, probably my high nostrils, but that's because my nose is really sensitive and I hate stuff really far up my nose. So the tools and like the jewelry transfer process was honestly the worst part about it, but I really hated it. Obviously, I will tell no lies, getting pierced for suspension is pretty darn spicy. I am usually a complainer and a grumbler, not a big fan. Worth it for the experience, but I hate the piercing part. From Lost Neon Cat, what are some of the most unique piercings I've done? I love this question. I am super fortunate to get to do a lot of really fun custom stuff. Michael, who commented earlier with a question, this is their sword ear project. This is probably my favorite ear project I've ever done. I think it's so cool. We have Danielle's Doth to Forward Helix Orbital, another winner. She's a unicorn client who heals everything like a dream the average person could never. And then I can't post these pictures on YouTube, but I have been fortunate enough to be entrusted by a number of clients with natural hypospadiasis to do genital piercing work for them. Those you can find on my portfolio on my website. I think it is so cool, and we were able to work with that natural anatomy really well to do cool stuff, and I think that's awesome. I have allergies and would love a septum, but I'm kind of scared to get it because I'm blowing my nose a lot. Do I get it or choose something else? I get asked about allergies a lot, and I kind of feel like I should do a full YouTube video just on allergies because I feel like there's enough content there for me to cover that. But to answer your question, totally go for it. It might have a longer healing process and might be more prone to irritations during healing because of your allergies, but a septum's really durable. It's not going to heal. It just might be a little bit of a brat while it's healing. You're still going to be able to blow your nose. You will probably have to hold your nose kind of like further back on the nostril when you blow it. You'll figure out a technique that works for you, and you can still take allergy sprays and medications, just put them further up your nose than the piercing goes, but you're going to be fine. Septums are durable piercings. I also have horrendous allergies, and I have 6 nose piercings, so you got it. Charlotte wants to know if there's a way to stretch a clitoral hood to fit more Duke or Diana piercings. And honestly, the absolute best way to do this would be to take testosterone, which will cause natural bottom growth. A lot of folks experience bottom growth early on, like within just the first couple of weeks to months of taking it. So you could do really low dose T for just a brief amount of time, long enough to develop some bottom growth, and then discontinue it if you didn't like the other side effects and other effects of HRT, but that would absolutely give you way more hood room for doing those piercings. Emily wants to know my favorite genre of music, and it's honestly going to be a toss-up between like pop and like alternative, emo, alt-rock type stuff. I bounce all over the place, and I really do genuinely listen to a very broad spectrum of music. Karl makes fun of me all the time because if I just shuffle my music, it is literally unhinged, according to him. But I really do just love like classic pop songs. I don't know, I used to like hide that I really liked pop because I was like ashamed of it, because I don't know, people make fun of you for it, but I do just genuinely really like it. And then growing up, I was really big into alternative music, emo, punk, pop punk, all that stuff, and so that will always hold like a special place in my heart. Did I always want to be a piercer, and if I weren't one, what would you like to do? I actually, well, when I was really super little, like 4 or 5, I used to say I wanted to be a lawyer because my mom worked as a paralegal and I thought that would be cool, but I very quickly realized that that was not the path for me. And then all throughout high school, I was pretty seriously dedicated into becoming an artist. More specifically, I really wanted to pursue graphic design. I loved oil painting and fine arts as like a hobby and a side thing, but I really enjoyed graphic design and digital media. And it kind of took me by surprise when I fell in love with piercing so much to pierce. If I didn't become a piercer, I actually don't know that I would have ended up in graphic design. Looking back on it now as an adult, I think there's a lot of things about that industry that I really dislike. But I think I would end up, if I wasn't piercing, still working somehow closely in conjunction with people. I could definitely see myself doing hair or makeup or massage, something where I'm working closely with people's bodies. I'm also really passionate about social work and social causes, and I could definitely see myself working behind the scenes in organization or management and something like that. Adrian wants to know any future tattoo projects, and my right arm and back are lined but not shaded or colored. My next big project is working more on those. My artist just books out really far in advance and our schedules just keep not aligning, but my goal, probably not this year, probably next year, is to really sit down and dedicate time to working on getting those projects done. And I have other stuff that's like floating around in my head that I keep thinking about wanting to get, but I really want to finish more work and at least get more shading and color down on my back and my arm before I do anything else. So those are my next really big goals. And then one last one, does the gauge size of a stretched ear determine how heavy of jewelry you can wear? Like, do you have to be at this size for a jewelry that's this heavy? And the answer is like yes and no. I would say if you're interested in starting to wear like pretty heavy stuff, the larger the wearable, the better the distribution of weight. So I would say you'll want to start being around like at least a 4.2 or 0 gauge to start pushing for like heavier stuff. That way you have that wider surface area to spread it out over. But also as you start looking into really big jewelry and really heavy pairs, in order for them to like just function as ear weights, they're generally going to have larger wearables. So you end up needing to be a little bit bigger to wear those. But you can weight train your ears starting off with stretching. I started weight training my ears when they were at a 6 gauge, and weight training plays a much larger factor in how heavy you can wear weights than anything else. I do have a guide on my blog. If people want, I can make a video about it here on YouTube as well, but basically you need to train your ears over time to be able to wear heavier and heavier weights. The more you train your ears, the more weight they can handle, and then you keep going up like that. No different than training your muscles to lift heavier weights. So you can start weight training very early on. However, you may find as you start to progress and get heavier and heavier that you are being limited by the size of your lobes and the weight distribution. So for me in my weight training journey, I was buying ear weights all throughout my stretching progress, and I definitely bought some heavy stuff pretty early on. And I could wear it for really short periods of time at smaller sizes, but I did find that as my lobes got larger and I was able to wear larger saddles or larger eyelets to distribute the weight over a bigger area, it did become a little bit easier for me to wear my bigger stuff longer term and progress that weight training. So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but you can definitely get pretty heavy even at pretty small sizes. I was wearing like around 100 grams in like 2 gauge lobes, so you can get there. To wear the super heavy stuff, you know, depending on your ears, you may just need to go a little bit bigger to give you that better weight distribution. I don't want to make this video like super ridiculously long, so of course I was not able to get to everyone's questions, but I had a lot of fun doing this. I really like these videos. I don't know about y'all. I would like to do more in the same vein just because I think they're fun, but you know, let me know down in the comments below. Solve this debate for me and Carl. Do we like Ask Me Anythings and more stuff like this? Like, should I do like a spicy truth or drink or anything like that? Or is Carl right? Are these kind of outdated and boring? Are you kind of like, Lynn, get back to the normal stuff? Let me know. Anyway, if you like this or if you hate this and you want to let me know what you would rather see, please hit like and subscribe and give me your feedback. And I can't wait to sit down and hang out again soon. Bye.